I'm Jeremiah Boucher, a commercial real estate investor with over 20 years experience. This show is designed to help you build your business, become a better real estate investor, and help you see opportunities that will keep you ahead of the competition. This is Finding Your Edge.
So it's saying no a lot, saying no to certain gatherings or outings or just business opportunities.
And well, let's dig into that, because I think that's something that's super difficult for high energy, high performing people, because we want to do more. We feel like, hey, like for me, right? In about 20 minutes, I'm going to go to, or whatever it is, after this, we're going to go to an event where I want to meet these people that are hosting the event because I feel like they could be good business contacts. I want to see if I can add value to them. So, but that comes at a cost, right? All these things come at a cost that we want to do. When you want to go to that other mastermind, when you want to go to the other, join that other group and do a speaking event, when you want to go, well, all these things, there's a cost to them. And so how do you make those decisions, man? Because that's a really hard for where I'm at right now. Is like, okay, because I want to say yes to everything because I want the opportunities, because you're an opportunistic person. I am as well. So how did you kind of come to that conclusion? Was it, I got to go back to my values? What are my company's values to make my decisions? I'm just curious what your thoughts were.
Yeah, that's so good, Marty. This is a tricky one. So the balance of being able to know when to say no and when to say yes. And, I can just I can say Warren Buffett's quote about the richest people in the world say yes fewer times than anyone else, that they say no more than anyone, because they are so laser focused on what they do and the time that they have. It's so precious, every single second of their life. So they say no to everything except for a very few things. But I think it ties back to the value clarification, like you said. So if we know what we really want because we know what we really value, and we know that we have a certain amount of resources that are finite, energy and time, then we have to be able to, and we took the time to plan and strategize week in and week out on what we wanted, how we're going to make this thing happen. Then I think we have a lot more clarity when making those decisions. And I made a lot of mistakes, wasting a lot of time on things. But I think for me, this year, it's important that I stay on, playing to my strengths. And as a CE, for where I'm at in my career, I have to spend more time leading my leaders and making sure I make the right decisions for the company, rather than just making sales calls and rather than building relationships. I have to do both, but I have to be very picky, where I have to scale and leverage and work with people to make them better. And this is what we do throughout, running a business and growing a business. So it's a difficult position, though, to flip from being an actual salesman, a presenter, a fundraiser, a deal maker, to a business owner, an entrepreneur. So I have to really be realistic on, this is the time I have available to me. And in the business world, this is what I have to say no to. And I cannot take on anything that's not it's not in my wheelhouse. It has to be very, very specific. I mean, we have this little template now that this storage facility has to check all these boxes, or I have to say no, because the opportunity cost is extremely high this year if you get yourself in a bad deal. Extremely high. So that, I don't know if that's a great answer, Marty, but I think what I'd rather this year exercise the muscle of saying no and having capacity in my schedule, rather than being a frantic fucking maniac doing the thing after thing after thing. Because I have to tell you, this is difficult. As we're little guys on the beginning of the game board to get to the end of the board of trying to be a multi-millionaire or whatever, centimillionaire, we have to make all these strategic moves to get there. And if I do what I did when I started, I'll never get there. But if I spend all my time trying to do sales calls, or if it puts me in this place where I am constantly making the next call, my energy is all over the place. So it's about managing our energy and our focus. And I like the archetype or the energy you have to give to be a great salesman and to find opportunities and to be a great, deal finder. That's a crazy energy, right?
It's an insane energy.
It's insane. I mean, it's like an athlete that's whatever in beast mode. I mean, you have this one focus and you're an animal. And it's hard to just stop and be the head coach.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
just, to turn that off and then have it from that perspective.
Absolutely.
So, you know what I mean? It's like managing that focus and that archetype of that energy you're bringing. I noticed over the last few weeks is grinding on raising funds and getting deals. And then I just come into a meeting and I'm supposed to make these big decisions for the company. And I'm like, holy shit, like my head is all over the place.
Right.
So that's something I want to be cognizant of, is like, okay, like taking a step back, changing our demeanor, changing our energy, going into this situation, knowing, okay, who do I have to be right now to have that right intuition or the knowledge or the wisdom to be able to make this good decision, versus going into here with my salesman hat or my prospecting hat, where I'm just fired up to make, to have charisma, make chemistry, have chemistry. I see you bring it to a lot of situations.
I'm laughing because I'm going through that in my own way, where, again, just to reiterate, for anyone that's in this, they know how difficult and how much energy they have to give. And I'm questioning, do I need to give this much energy when I'm on a call? Like, am I hurting myself? Right? I'm almost thinking that way as we're talking. Am I handcuffing myself because I'm giving too much energy on a first time call when that may not be necessary? And maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe I'm scaring the people potentially, right? Not in a way where it's like, but maybe it's just not needed. So this is really good stuff, and it's important to remember this. And I can't imagine that pivot where once you're doing those calls and then you have to now go or you're raising that money and you have to have a certain element of energy there, but at the same time then kind of, I guess, going back into CEO mode and trying to make high level decisions when your mind is still in that day-to-day grind mode.
Yeah, 100%. And maybe that is the meditation or breathing or some of these app exercises that can center you back. And I'm not good at them. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how to get centered, to get at it, to step out of that individual that I need to be, to be on, where number one, I'm either building the business by being connecting with others and being light and multitasking. I mean, I'm looking at the next deal, the next call, the next lead, and I'm running numbers while I'm talking to someone, and I'm answering, another question for another sales guy in the office. So that energy's all over, but it's not high risk. It's
right.
High reward, but there's no risk involved. I can just, if I make a mistake, oh, sorry, I made the wrong offer, whatever. And at this gate, so that I can afford to. Right. But then if I bring that energy into, the boardroom, and we are now, taking on a new debt portfolio, and I'm just like, okay, make the decision, let's go. That's so fucking stupid.
Right.
So, and that's what I've learned over the years, that I've totally got to shift who I am and how I'm entering that meeting. And I think the multitasking is great. And then there's a time when it's not. And I think that reading is excellent, but then there's a time that it's not. So, reading a book is not always your highest return on investment. You need to be out doing and practicing. But what I do like about reading is it makes me channel in and focus on one thing, one letter, one word. It actually does force me to center myself. So even when this is like it's like a forced meditation, where if I can go read 2 or 3 pages of a book, even when my mind is screaming, like go do something else or go talk to a million different people, that forces me to lock in on something. And then at least I'm changing the way that my mind's thinking, so I can bring that better energy into the next situation.
Yeah, that is something that I'm wrestling with right now. And I really I'm still on that topic in my brain, to be honest with you, about going from the one thing to another. But because when you were saying the energy and the time that we have is finite, sometimes I think, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I think maybe, potentially I'm not a number one guy. Right. And that's tough sometimes to think about, and then because it's like, hey, I'm really good here. But maybe that's a number 3 guy, right? Maybe that's a number 4 guy. I don't know. So as I'm wrestling with those ideas, because I like what I'm doing, I like to give the energy on the call. I like being there. I like the building of it. But then you think about, who are the top level guys? Sam Zell, Steve Schwartzman. Are these guys high energy guys? Probably not, right? Probably not. So did they need to do this part? I don't know. I don't know the answer, right? But all I'm thinking is, there's a place for me and I like what I'm doing. But at the same time, I have to be realistic, and I want to make sure that, because geez, would it really matter if you're an entrepreneur? And again, this is just me talking out loud, and you're getting it all. Anybody listening is, you can still do very well within a company, right? Now, I want this opportunity, I want the chance, I'm going to go for it, and I'll go down burning with it. But you got to think about that too. It's like, hey, you could be a Steve Ballmer or whatever bomber at Windows and make $100 million within a company, or you could make $100,000 at your own company. Like, which would you rather do? If whatever brings you more happiness, success in your own mind. So that's something I'm wrestling with as we talk about this, but it's just something that I'm thinking about as we do this, because this is therapy, baby. We're in session right now.
Yeah, boy.
That's again multitasking, right? So it's another thing.
Yeah, I think Gary Vee's like talked about it at exhaustion, which I like. Self-awareness. Where do you fit in your career? When you when you understand your skills and you go over your goals, where does that put you in the business world?
Right.
Making it. And I guess from what I've gotten, and I get to see Sam Zell speak next month, and I get, and seeing all the videos of the top producing entrepreneurs or business owners in the country, world, these guys bring this level of calmness and presence. And you can tell that they have this fierce force and this obsession and drive, but you can tell it's internal, and it's pure. They are animals. Because you could tell that they are processing strategy, but they have conviction for what they're doing, and they can bounce in and out of, all different aspects of the company, but they truly understand that critical driver that moves the needle, and they're going to fight tooth and nail to get it there. So I think these guys have this, you and I, and any business person in any business environment or in any environment in the world, all we have in the beginning when we walk in a room is our presence and energy. That is what we're selling. Like everything we're not saying speaks 10 times louder than what we are saying. So, all these habits and routines and rituals and goals and values, all that shit shows up in that one first, second impression when you're on stage, or when you're, right now, when someone's watching this, and that's what they get. And they're going to process you however they're going to process you. But putting all that time and energy in over time, I think builds that capacity to control the energy, right? And there's a time when aggression is needed. Mm-hmm. When I talked to a really fascinating CIA guy that is someone that invests with us and is great, now he's independent in his private contracting. But this guy, I asked him, when is aggression needed? When do you use aggression? Because he works on strategy in countries around the world, Russia, China, United States, Europe. And he says it's very minimal. 10% or less of the time, leaders are using aggression. And when they do, they shoot to kill. Mm-hmm. I mean, you use it with maximum force, and you leave no survivors to come back and, and come back and kill you at the end of the movie.
Right.
So, right. But, like in the art of war, if you're outmatched, then aggression is not, you retreat or you reposition.
Right.
But if you have the advantage, then that's what that opponent needs to respond. Some people only respond to aggression at certain moments.
Right.
Then you execute to kill. Mm-hmm. You just use it at full capacity. And I don't want to get too, philosophical, but it's an interesting topic because every person on here is probably some type of investor or business owner. So bringing that energy into any situation, knowing, if I lose my cool, if I make this enemy right now and I don't even have an advantage or I have a key dependency, that's stupid.
Right.
Right now, then this person is going to come back and bite me, and it's not even going to get the effect of trying to influence this person.
Right.
So I need to be cunning. I need to get more information and re-strategize, reposition, right? Or I need to play the long game. If they're waiting for something to happen and you can be patient, let them play it out and give you more information. So I just think we all need to be self-aware and take the time to really process how we're bringing ourselves to these different negotiations and situations. And then other times it's, and light and funny is a huge strategy. I mean, if you can break the tension right out of the gate and it calls for it and everybody puts down their mask, you can get right to the heart of it. And it's not manipulation. It's just a pure It's understanding the situation and adapting to what is needed, from your intuition and your understanding. So I think it's just such a cool idea. Robert Greene has all those good books about it. They're a little long for me, but the essence of what he talks about in 50th Law of Power and 48 Laws of Power and, The Art of Seduction and all these different books, I love his content, his social media content. And essentially after he wrote his most recent book about the laws of human nature, I mean, really at the end of the day, it was getting outside of yourself and entering into other people's worlds and looking at them like they're another country that has been unexplored and having genuine interest in who they are and where they came from and why they are saying what they're saying, and not in your head waiting for your turn to talk, waiting to shove your shit down their throat. And that allows you to really understand and be with that person, because at the end of the game, like we talked about in Finding Your Edge, and we always talk about, it's just one big relationship game. The whole board game is just a bunch of fucking people. Right. And we're just working together, signing pieces of paper. That's all we're doing. Right. I mean, trading it back and forth and keystrokes on a phone and on a computer. So I think, at the end of the day, like, who are you on the other end of the phone? Are we the guy that someone is like, when we see that call come in and you're calling me, Marty. I'm like, cool, Marty's calling. Like, I like talking to Marty. Or are we the asshole that's calling? You're like, oh, it's going to be difficult, right?
Yeah, you don't want to be that one.
No, or when we're giving tough love, you're that person on the other end saying, I might not want to hear it, but man, they give it to me straight.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I went off on this, but I think, at the end of the day, who do we have to be in order to get to what we want? And then when we know who we have to be, then it's a lot easier to think about, achieving a goal or getting somewhere or having pride or confidence or bringing this presence to any situation, rather than just checking off boxes like, I got 6-pack abs, I got, $2 million in the bank this year. That, I think it's more important than that. It's like the process to get there, and then, making sure that we continually focus on who we are and what's important to us, so we're not just blindly running after our own tail.
Yeah, I think that was some of the best work you've ever done in this podcast right there. In that minute to 2 minutes was because it right there, it changed my thoughts on a lot of things, and those things being that you have to take some time to really think about what you want. I think that's a big part of this. We get like really lost. I think a lot of people kind of get wrapped up and lost in this game. You want the things right now. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't, man. It just doesn't. And when you said a couple of things, when you said, the compounding, right? You've talked about that a few times, is the compounding. And it's like, it really is a just continuous build. We started as this, you and I, we started as this like Jello that you got to mold down into something that's just a beast of a rock that is hard, but it's good, and it's also bendable. And really what I'm getting at is you have to really enjoy that process of going from not really knowing to, and you never really do know, but it's just a constant process, but you really enjoy that. Like, I wanted something and I didn't get it, right? But I became somebody pretty cool that I'm more of, I'm okay with myself. I kind of said this in a video where you'd see these people with these weight vests on, walking at a gym on a treadmill, reading a book. And I was like, that's a very interesting person. I maybe not have said interesting at the time. I go, what a weirdo, or something along those lines. And now that's something I'm doing. And I like that person now. I want to talk to that person now, because they're probably doing something. They're probably on a really interesting journey. So that's what I'm getting at, is like, I appreciate this, this conversation of, being somebody and continuing that journey and being the best that we can, but also at the same time, hey, enjoy the process day to day, have the gratefulness that keeps you in it, and also think about where you want to be in 10 years, but think small in the 1 year, 10 years, go big. So that's something I'm thinking about right now.
I'm glad. Yeah, Marty. And we're all going through this process, but I think the metaphor that you used, where you're like a blob of Play-Doh,
yeah, right?
And then you're fun and happy and loose, and you're this child, and you're moldable, and then the world and the harshness and everything, and the fun and the temptation and this whole game that we're in, whatever it is, the simulation, in our head. We evolve and this, we have to build this thing.
Yeah.
Is someone forming us, or are we carved out of wood? Are we going to be, resilient and pliable, but still have this really, like, we're proud of this thing that we call us?
Yes.
Or did the world, manipulate us and shape?
Right. That's
thing?
So good.
Right.
Yes.
Tied back to your social media thing, it's like you got that choice to build who you are and who you're not. So for me this year, we'll look back at next year in 2023 at the same episode in December, the last one of the year. And I'd love to see, through all the drama and the ups and downs and the emotion and the fucking grinding and the hard work and the wins and the losses, and then how it all shook out on our goals, where we checked off the box, did we get it or not? How did we shape that, who we are? And what did we get out of it in terms of internally? What are these values that we either clarified or produced or became, or these skills that we picked up? And that's the real win. I know it sounds it's like airy-fairy, but right, that's the win from this year. And we're going to have really good and bad days, but I want us to remember that, when we pull ourselves out of this fucking, I got this much money in the bank and I got, I did this much, like, what did we really get out of it? And there's something to that, man. I don't know exactly, but I do know if you produce and you do a great speech, or you have great connection, or you go on a great trip, or you pull yourself away from everything and you get that perspective, then you can actually look at who you were 5 years ago and go, wow, man, I'm totally different than where I was, but my nature's the same, but I just molded myself into this really powerful person that, I didn't get applauded for it. I did things when I was supposed to do them, and I learned a lot from it, and I'm pretty proud of that. But it's hard to do when you're doing the same thing at the same desk every day, driving the same way back and home to work in the office. So we need this stuff.
And I think that's what makes me proud, kind of thinking about 2022, is just, that's what, and then thinking about that in the future. And again, it's a constant remembering, because geez, do you forget daily of, hey, this is what it takes. And you asked for it, and it's something that you wanted. Now you got it. But it's that being on the phone, making the dial, building the relationship, going for that run in the snow, putting the vest on, telling the girl that you love her and making sure she knows it, or the guy, and making sure that you're just keeping these things, these sacred things, true, because at the end of the day, when the dust settles, it's who were you, and were you proud of that person that you were? The money, all the other stuff.
Great stuff.
Right? That's what I think is going to matter, and it's something that I need to keep remembering, and hopefully people listening will remember those things too.
Well, that's why we do this, man.
That's why we do this, man.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
You listen on your worst day, you listen to this and you go, okay, what can I do to mold myself to be who I want to be?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's it, guys. Unless, Jeremiah, do you have anything else?
That's it, man. Yeah. I New Year, everybody.
Yeah, that was amazing. I think that was a really good start. We'll talk a little bit more about the goal stuff and where Jeremiah's business is going, where I'm going, and where we're figuring things out daily. But finding your edge, keep finding it. Bye-bye.
For more information on commercial real estate investing, go to patriotholdings.com. Thanks for listening to Finding Your Edge.